it just me, or does it seem like Jesus Christ is on his way? Is it just me, or could it be that it could happen any day?
Am I the only one who believes we're on the brink of eternity?
Is church about to leave, or is it just me?
We're glad to have the Stouffers with us today at our missions conference via Zoom. They are halfway around the world, and yet they're here with us in our auditorium today. I'm sorry, we're going to have lunch afterwards. You're not going to get to participate in that with us, so make sure you go have something nice when we're done. But where I'm at, in my side of the globe, it's 10 o'clock, and where he's at, it's what time? How's that work out?
Yeah, 7:30 in the evening on Thursday, and you're 10 o'clock Thursday in the morning.
That's right. So we're, for whatever reason, where you're at is half an hour out of sync with the rest of the world. I just thought that was kind of neat. There are times I say here in Bangor, Maine, it's Thursday the 14th, but here in Greenbush, it's 1967. So sometimes it seems that way. But we haven't seen you for a while, and you are obviously out of the country. So first off, give us a quick update. How are you folks doing? How's your health been?
My health is doing admirably well.
Good.
I have gotten almost full strength back. Still a little bit weak on that shoulder, but yes, I think you've heard me say it before. Much better than I deserve is how I'm doing.
Yep. I've had, there are guys in ministry I talk to, and you ask them how they're doing. One of them says better than I deserve. The other one says rejoicing in the Lord. So I kind of alternate between those two.
Yep, that would work. And I'll let my wife explain a little bit what's happening.
Yes.
Well, I'm doing fine. I just have problem with one leg, the hip and the knee, but I'm getting around. I have a cane, and that helps. And now we have a car here that I can drive on campus.
Nice.
And not have to walk so far.
Good.
So that's been a blessing.
It's not a little golf cart, is it? Did you get?
No, but it's a very small car.
Good. Very good. Very good. So
If anybody knows cars, Suzuki Alto. Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
Anyway, so it's small, but it does the job.
Yep, exactly. Tiny, gas efficient. And speaking of gas, we're facing crisis around the globe with food, with the price of fuel, things like that. So with the price of everything going up, fuel, food, things like that, how are things going where you're at? What are prices looking like where you're at?
Yeah, everything changes by the day. And so we, try and do the best we can. And we are hoping that we can encourage the students to try and give a little bit more to help compensate for all the extra expenses, and maybe even some of their churches. So, sadly, the missionaries here have not really done a good job of teaching the people how to give. And you can understand why. They come and they see such poverty, and they say, oh, you folks, you don't have anything, so don't worry about giving, we'll take care of you. And that has been a real problem. There are some people who are learning to give, and that we're thankful for that.
They need to get into 2 Corinthians. We've just been studying through in the Macedonians, the folks where Alexander the Great was from, that Rome made sure was very poor. And Paul remarked on how remarkable their giving to missions was.
Yes.
Maybe you can't give but 2 mites, but if you got it to give and God puts it on your heart, you got to give. You got to teach the people that too, whatever they have.
Right. Yeah. And so that's all part of it. Yeah.
What's your schedule look like now?
Well, I have added to the schedule beforehand. Basically, whatever the president wanted done, I would try to implement that, because he would be away from the campus probably half of the time. And so basically, I'm his representative on campus. And they call me principal, but I'm not sure what a principal's supposed to do. But a good bit of it is just helping people to learn how to get together and work together and have teamwork, and use each other's strengths instead of complaining about each other and so forth. So that's been a big good part of it. But this year I've added something that I have really wanted to do and actually tried to do before, not realizing how difficult it is for the students here.
Mm-hmm.
They are accustomed, as you've heard me say before,
Mm-hmm.
to ask the teacher, what do you want me to memorize? And I'll do it.
Yep.
But as far as here's a verse, now what does it say? What does it mean? How does that compare with the verse before it and the verse after it? That's been a challenge for them.
Mm-hmm.
And this course that I'm teaching forces them to do that. As it also, I'm kind of reviewing their Greek and Hebrew, which they appreciate, because it's to do original word studies in Greek and Hebrew.
Right.
And it's been a good time. It's been a voluntary course. And so I think in the MTH, I have 7. And in the MDiv 3, it's probably close to 10 or 12. And in the MDiv 2, maybe closer to 14, 15. So I'm really hoping for good things when it gets all done.
Very good. I came across my college notes the other day and realized I've never looked at them since I got out of college. But what I learned over 4 years of college is how to study, how to get in and study. And that really is what you need to teach the kids. If they memorize something and they can repeat what they memorized but not understand it, it doesn't do them any good. And there's probably some over there that are by nature curious and want to know, but if the generally accepted practice is that rote memory, then they're probably just going to go along for peer pressure. Gerry, what do your days look like?
Pretty much in the music room all day. I started early on with more than 50 students, piano students, but now it's down. I haven't counted recently, but it's probably in the upper 40s, around 50.
Good.
But in the past, it's been a lot of children, but those children are older now. And so I have only 2 that qualify as children, and the rest are all college age. So it's
in the culture. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
In the culture that you're in, is that something that they encourage the kids to learn to play an instrument, learn to play the piano?
They do. Especially those from the northern part of the country. Southern part, not so much.
But most of our students come from the north.
Yeah.
So that's why it's been a very popular thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. I was listening to a podcast the other day talking about the country where you folks are serving. And they said there's a rapidly growing middle class, or there was before COVID. And one of the first things they aspire to is air conditioning. It's not an iPhone or whatever. They may already have that, but they aspire to air conditioning. What's the weather like where you're at right now?
Well, it's been very consistent. Probably the low 90s, mid 90s for the high for the day. And I think the low 70s would be low. I think it was up maybe mid 70s. I think I mentioned before one time that the lowest temperature we've ever seen here is 68 degrees.
Wow. Wow.
So it's just very consistent.
You're not going to be worrying about the price of oil, the price of natural gas or propane or anything like that through the winter months. That's
no, we don't have to worry about sweaters and jackets and hats. We let the local people who have to go through the hot time of the year, they come with hats and scarves and everything.
Yeah.
When it needs to be around 70.
Yeah.
Now, what are your needs for prayer? How can we pray for you folks?
Well, the schedule is very full. because it was full enough just doing the principal work. But now with teaching this course, that adds about 9 periods that I'm occupied in teaching. And I thoroughly enjoy it, but it does, take into the time.
Mhm.
And then there's all kinds of extra things that happen. Now, like just today, you almost have to smile how the day went. Because of a family wedding that's going on, the president and the manager, the business manager and the assistant manager all had to be at this family function and be gone. But there's a lot of construction on campus for a different kind of school for the grade school and high school. They had hoped it wouldn't be this way, but this was the day when a big part of the construction was supposed to be done and a crane was coming, and they wanted to have someone there beside the superintendent. So they said, George, could you do that? Well, they got a phone call. The crane is here. So that you stop everything and go to that. And then interrupt that with, we have a student that's returning that was dismissed 2 or 3 years ago, and we had to deal with his the things he did wrong and get that confession, try and get that out in the open, get that cleared so he can come back.
Mhm.
And then shortly after that, it's choir time, and now it's time for Zoom. So that's, the days go very fast.
Good. Very good. Have to be flexible.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I'm more familiar with Spanish culture, and Spanish culture has something called mañana. Mañana, literally translated, means tomorrow or tomorrow morning, but it could mean tomorrow morning, the day after, next week. It could mean never.
Right.
What's the culture like there? How focused are they? And what's driving like, things like that? What's it like living there?
Well, driving is a whole different story. I used to close my eyes, but I don't bother anymore because I trust the driver. But we would never drive with those close margins. Unbelievable. And yet we've never had an accident since I've been here. We never drive off campus. Never. We always have someone else. So the driving in the car that they got for us, that's just on campus.
On campus.
Yeah. But as far as the culture, I don't know that we would hear that often, mañana or something similar to that.
Right.
But there is a culture, and it's a competitive culture, I put it that way. So sports means a lot to our students.
Mhm.
And many of our students come from a tribal background where they have been actually fighting in a war not too many years ago. And so it's important that we have the sports and the competitive nature shows up on the field rather than in the dorm room in a fight. So,
I would assume you have soccer, other sports that they play?
Yep. Oh, they love soccer, and they do quite a bit.
But they call it football.
Football, yep, exactly. And they probably have cricket.
Yep.
Because that's a big one.
They do.
I know some professional cricketers in Europe have come out of where you folks are at.
Yeah.
So have you figured out how to play cricket or what that means or anything about it? I'm still...
No. 3 years ago, we sat beside somebody who knew, and I got a little bit better idea, but I forgot all about it. So this year when they had a cricket match, we looked for somebody else and now why is this? And what's this? And how come this is happening? And I guess I know a little bit more than I did before. They love it.
It's about the best dressed sport there is. I'll say that for it. They dress nicely when they play cricket. Yeah, for sure.
And they love to play in the heat of the day.
Exactly. Now, how long are you there for this time? When will you be coming back to the States?
We wondered about how our health would be, and with the option that we could come back, say, before Christmas. Our visa requires us to leave the country before 6 months. And so at this point, we're thinking we'll just go to a neighboring country and then come back in and then stay here till March, which would be more like the normal time.
Mhm.
But it has been so rewarding to have people come up and just so thankful for us to be back and assuming the responsibilities. And so many of them said, it's never been the same since you've been gone. And it's so good to see you again and all that sort of stuff. And so,
Yep. You were gone for a couple of years, right? Because of COVID?
almost 2.5.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it was a while. And how is the rest of the world is still dealing with COVID? How are things going where you're at as far as COVID is concerned?
Thankfully, we had kind of a repeat back in July. We had one person test positive for COVID. And then there were 2 people that were out with the same symptoms. And then the next day there were 40. Wow. And so we went to work, gave them the medicine that works, and it was basically over in no time.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Yeah, I'd heard in the country you're in that they were dealing aggressively with COVID and successfully. So I'm glad to hear that.
Well, the ones that were really depending upon the vaccines may be in for a surprise, as there have been so many medical issues in the U.S. especially. And I know they're trying to hide that as much as they can, but the vaccines have really done a job on the population. So many excess deaths, and usually it's myocarditis and so forth, blood clots. It's a shame.
Yep.
So we're thankful we did not have to get a vaccine, and we had to be tested before we came, but that was all.
Now, when does this semester end for you folks, and when does the next one begin?
Okay, we are now ending the first semester because it starts in June. June is the end of summer here. April, May, it can get so hot. And so the semester starts in June, and we end up now here in October. And then the second semester will end early part of March, and graduation is always March 10.
Okay. How much time between semesters?
Just a day.
Just a day, okay.
So tomorrow there'll be a day off. Yeah.
You don't take like a week off or something like that?
No, they do have a picnic.
Very good. Very good.
I have some notes up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, something that does fill up our schedule quite a bit. We are responsible for the guests that come, and we have an unusual supply coming, these starting about several weeks ago and for the next month or two. We'll have 11 guests, and we have a new procedure for them when they come in, and new airlines to deal with and so forth. So all of that is a remarkable amount of time trying to get them acclimated and get them here. So that's another thing that adds to the schedule. Yeah.
Anything else you want to share? Anything else that we haven't talked about?
Yes, we've had an unusual situation of about 90 students who've come this year who can hardly speak English.
Wow.
Quite often they can do a little bit, but we had 90 that just about can hardly put 2 and 2 together. So we have care groups, and we have like 18 in our care group. We are to treat them like family and help them out in every way. But we've come to the place that for them to understand even simple stuff, we have to have it translated. And then trying to find one in the group that can actually understand what we said so they can translate it into their. So anyway, it's been an interesting challenge this year. But we take it as a challenge because, we don't know whether these people really understand salvation or not. They would have a Christian background, as most of our students do, but it leaves a lot to be desired. Let me put it that way.
Yep, for sure. Anything else?
There was something that really surprised us. We were talking to the president about my family that I grew up in and my wife's family that she grew up in. and then our marriage together, that you consider I'm about 75 years of age, or I am, or over that. And so in my lifetime, I've never heard my parents fight. My wife has never heard her parents fight. And we haven't had a fight between us. And that just so amazed him. He said, you need to talk on the family sometime. And so that was back a week or so ago. And it was very well received. Many, many comments dealing with that. And even the president said, you need to give that message 3 times.
We
but at least he gave it a second time.
We expect here in America that when kids become teenagers that they're going to rebel. But most of the world, that's not true, because the kids are participating in the family. There are things, there are expectations they have for them. And that's probably true where you folks are at, I would assume.
Right, pretty much. I mean, we'll get the rebellion also, but yeah.
It's the society quashes it. The society says, no, we don't put up with that. So, yes.
But I guess I mentioned all that because they have been so quick to help my wife in every way, carrying things, hold the door for her,
Nice.
Help her up steps and all that. But when I do it, they're surprised. And that's part of what I was talking about with the marriage, because so often marriages here are almost like a business partnership for creating kids.
Yep.
And it's so sad. And quite often there'll be a lot of fighting and so forth go on. Or else they just are absent. The father's off in another country making money, sending it back home. And so home life is not what it should be.
Right.
And so they were really surprised at that message.
Good. Very good. Yeah, it's amazing how much good information the Bible has. It's almost as if God knew what we needed when he put it together.
Yeah.
Anything else, folks? Anything else you want to share?
Well, keep praying. We
Absolutely.
need wisdom. We need grace to be able to handle everything that's coming our way, and for our students, we really want them to learn to think, to analyze, and to be able to put things together. If this is so, then this is so. How does this verse compare to that verse? So just be praying. It's hard for them. They tell us, oh, this is so hard, but it'll be good for them.
Absolutely. It's one thing to memorize Bible verses. It's quite another to understand how those verses support each other across the entire Bible, and to be able to put that together. That's pretty amazing. We're going to keep praying for you, keep supporting you by God's grace. That's what we're going to do. Love you guys, and wish you could be here with us in person.
And we need to say how much we miss you folks.
Understand.
11 has a special place in our heart.
Mhm.
This year has been unique. We've had more people in person. We had one Sunday, last Sunday, where we had videos. And I'm going to have you, what we're doing is we're having a Sunday school Sunday morning, a meal, and then we're coming back to watch a video or for another session. And you folks will be in one of the sessions after lunch. So we're looking forward to that and sharing that with the folks. But I'm so glad we're able to get together like this. I'm impressed that there's very little delay over 9.5 hours, however that works out. There's very little delay. So this is wonderful.
Yeah. We had as much trouble last year, or maybe more.
Yeah, we did. We had much more trouble last year. So very good. Well, Lord bless. And again, it's been good to have you with us, and you folks take care.
Very good. Thank you so much. Thank you for all you've done.
Hello, this is Jeff Tenney, pastor of Faith Bible Church of Lemon. Thanks so much for worshiping with us today. We trust it was a blessing and that you might find encouragement for the coming week in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. If you're ever in the Greenbush area, we'd love to meet you in person. Our services start on Sunday mornings at 9:45 for Sunday school, 11 a.m. for the morning worship service, 6 p.m. for the evening service, and on Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. we gather for Bible study and prayer. May God richly bless you and your family as you seek to serve Him wherever you are this week.
When I'm around, heaven is listening to my song.